It happened. The world as we know it has forever been altered. Or at least Final Fantasies has, which happens to be my entire world. We flash back a few years. I and other fans, we were marginally concerned that Square had lost their balls, become play-safe Enix. Nice. Oh boy, were we wrong. So, FF7 Remake, full spoiler alert, they changed everything. Kate Sith's already showing his hairy little ass, and speaking of ass, Sephiroth's literally torn Destiny's a new one. Cloud has already been the first man to space. Fuck your dream, Sid. And as it turns out, it wasn't Phoenix Downs our characters needed to return from death, it was simply plot Ghost Downs. Nailed it. And while I have to admit I loved the juiciness of this first part, the game's dramatically twisting ending and direction, it's been such a fuel for lore and theory hypes, and I've not been able to stop thinking about it. And yet at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Square Enix haven't just gone and rewritten what is essentially the Bible of video games. Well, okay, maybe not the whole Bible, but at least a good chapter. I don't know, maybe John or some shit. You've altered a well-known, thoroughly established, iconic cornerstone of JRPG history. This is the fire of my goddamn childhood you're flippantly playing with here, Square. And what's funny is, I know I've studied atop the mount of FF7 obsession for almost 20 years, and even I didn't realise that that's what you were even doing most of the game. Not until like 95% of the way in. It was 100%. I mean, but I needed Maximilian freaking Dude of all people to assist me in realising you really had gone there, Square. You had just pulled off a remake disguised as a sequel, a requel, a sneaky sneakquel, a sneak make requel. Now I know what some of you are going to say, because frankly I've been saying it myself. The first episode felt pretty faithful. The events in Midgar more or less happened the same way, albeit the same, just on 600% inflated steroids, and yeah, it felt real good. You more or less just kept the complete U-turn until the latter section of the title, but if you think you can pull the same trick whenever the hell Part 2 gets released, Square, I'm going to say I don't think you can. And it's precisely because of that latter section insanity, and this is what I want to open this video to talk about, because not only does the production quality of the first part and the sheer bulk of FF's story that there is still left to tell make me feel anywhere from mildly curious to totally terrified, I'm also wondering how the remaining narrative of the story is going to reconcile the 1,000-ton plot device you've practically smushed our characters under. And don't let this video get twisted, I'm framing my tone as cynically objective so this vid can get more views on YouTube, yet I am confident a route exists where this game can walk the line of being familiarly recognisable. Familiarly, fuck it, I can't say the word, as well as impactfully expanded. I think it could do both. Now, what will that look like? Well, that's what I want to discuss in the comments with you guys. So right after you've quayed the living Cooper out of the subscribe button, 100k silver plays. We're close, baby. I want it so bad. So let me just lay where we're at, where we really at. Our crew has journeyed the first 15% of their total adventure, and in that time experienced a lot of trippy, unexplained phenomena, mostly called whispers. They remained mostly unexplained this game because heck, anyone's supposed to figure it out? I sure didn't, and any lovely flower girls who may have had a moseying guess, well, they withheld the information until magic hand transference. And now we've got Sephiroth as well. His appearances were also being sort of gently left on the explanation back burner. For various reasons. One, because Cloud thought he might be tripping mad fucking balls on Mako fumes.
I'm seeing things. Fumes from all the Mako, maybe.
And just a mad old amount of other stuff snuck its way in under the guise of mystery, because for the most part, a lot of shizness was going down. A lot was happening in the plot at a very fast pace, and I mean, it's not uncommon for anime-ish high fantasy plots to churn out insane event after insane event, and it all largely goes unquestioned by the main protagonists. That's quite usual, or at the very least not discussed in the kind of depth befitting the gravity of the situation. Now, this isn't a Persona game. Our team doesn't stop off to stipulate and summarise the events that have just transpired, but saying that actually FF7 crew does. Eventually we hit down times, you know, a few times like in Calm or the Gold Saucer, Bugenhagen's Observatory is another one, or any of the multiple rendezvous aboard the airship. And And it's at quiet group gathered moments like these that I'm wondering, what the hell are they gonna discuss? Who the hell is actually going to sit Aerith's ass down and seriously question her on what she knows? Sephiroth, for example, he's gone from a subtly re-emerged fart in the wind to already an established world-ending threat. Even said world-ending threat like the meteor, we've now physically seen it, has been witnessed by our crew. Some great twist finding out about meteor that's gonna be in the Temple of the Ancients. We broke destiny with a capital D, and our teammates know they did it. And that's what I can't get past, because that suddenly places a whole heap of narrative importance and connotations that simply didn't exist in OG and that can't be simply glossed over now. And this is where I question Kitase's response on the story. So he said, we're not drastically changing the story and making it into something completely different than the original. Even though it's a remake, please assume the story of FF7 will continue as FF7 always has. The story will continue as it always has? How? I mean, there's a few ways I could see this working. You know what, let's just list them. I'm going to be pretty vague and broad with 3 options. Feel free to go down below and add any that you come up with. So option number 1, and this for me is the worst. Please don't take this route, Square, and it's plot amnesia. Japanese game devs, they can be guilty of this one, so can 7. So part 2, it could just open and we're pooling on over to Calm. Nibelheim backstory happens, then we go to Junon, get our sexy bikini flirtations on in Costa del Sol. I assume that's part of what Kitase's message is. That events will happen in the order we remember them, aka we will be visiting locations in the sequence we originally did, but I swear to all holy, if our characters don't seem quite affected, I think that's the best word, if they're not affected deeply by the events of part 1, I'm going to scream at the lack of realism that absolutely should and must exist in very, 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 very high fantasy games. Nanaki, for example. We can't just get to Cosmo Canyon and he'd be like, see ya humans, I'm going to stay here. Like he did in OG. He wasn't even going to come along with our crew, but he has to now because Nanaki has already assured he is committing his nose to the hunt. He's already been shown the outcome of the planet and, by his words again, determined it has to be stopped. Nanaki's character and understanding and indeed relationship with the other teammates has just taken a massive leapfrogging. And now I know some of you might think, so what? Does it really matter that Nanaki doesn't hesitate in coming with the crew from Cosmo Canyon? He just comes along, big deal. Well, it kinda is, especially when the whole reason his scene with Seto and learning of his father's sacrifice, that was what contextualized for Red what it meant to defend the village. It meant to go along with Cloud and the crew and defend the world. So just like the butterfly effects of Sephiroth in this remake, they had huge implications that trickled down the line. So too has the new framing of part 1 story. And if all of that is glossed over like amnesia, then that will suck. I mean, they could write it, I suppose. But after breaking Destiny, the team's memories in part 2 get somewhat reset, along with all their combat skills and abilities, to nicely restart part 2's battle system. But upon looking at the ending some more, I'm gonna say nah. The crew, they know what's up. They know they've broken Destiny, they know the gravity of Sephiroth, and if you don't have them sufficiently acknowledge those back-breaking realizations, you risk making them all look like bumbling idiots. You make the story seem like it doesn't properly acknowledge consequence, an important part of OG FF7. But anyway, option 2 plays mostly the same, but slightly different. So I could see this. We venture through the tale, however situations are aptly adjusted to the new realizations and circumstances of the part 1 ending. So essentially they use the same beats, the same locations, but they do them to play a different tune to us, i.e. Bugenhagen's observatory again. Maybe our crew raises the point about Destiny to him, and Bugies doesn't just explain to us how the planet's cycle and life stream mechanics work. Maybe part of it also includes explaining Destiny to our crew. Maybe this game even toys with the idea that even with Destiny believed to have been broken by our teammates, that events still don't change that much. Or hell, maybe it was never broken to begin with and just transferred to Sephiroth, who is now just fucking them with the idea that they now have free will. Mostly the same but different is a nice route, because I strongly believe that once a cat's out the bag, you should never try to fully squish it back in. There's no point, for example, in them keeping Gongaga the same ambiguous place that vaguely mind diddles us with a concept of a guy called Zack, because we know Zack. We know him, we love him, or at least many do. So repurposing this segment to either explore some Crisis Core backstory or even go into like what S and G cells are and what were mentioned by Hojo in this remake, that would seem a better use of Gongaga. Or maybe we even like flash to the Zack Alive timeline of him returning home, and I don't know, that has some implications of the story. You guys get what I'm saying? Take the same locations, but give them a different weightier meaning. The only concern I have with this particular option is if it happens too much. If all these scenes keep getting repurposed to add the extra layer of intensity that would only seem befitting of, breaking fucking Destiny, well then the whole game, it could end up spinning into this overly dramatic angstathon where the tonality of 7 changes so much, and I don't know, even like small endearing stories sort of get drowned out or indeed get completely amped up. So Wutai springs to mind. It was a nice optional side lope in OG. We went there, we got to see the Turks take a vacation, stop a now established paedophile, and see the sweet reconciliation between a father and a daughter. It was simple, but now with all what the remake has teed up, it's been mentioning Wutai a lot, mentioning a bigger, fiercer, and more sinisterly sprung war. Well, it seems like then Wutai is going to take a whole new dramatic turn. Similarly, with scenes like Kate Sith stealing a keystone to unlock a materia to call a meteor that's already freaking coming. Will that play anymore? Will even Dying's small yet poignant arc fit into a dramathon that's already set the bar to standing at the edge of creation? Will dunking hoops at the saucer feel right knowing I've just destroyed the bloody Destiny ghost who was stopping me getting my 200 straight dunks? You can't just casually jump from plot heavy to plot light all of a sudden, to plot diet. You can't do it. Your FF7 can't just be world breaking 1 second and then casually glib the next. It's not right. Alright, maybe it is. Okay, here we go. Option 3. So option 3 is strap on your gym jams. This is just as it sounds. This is the headlong dive into the abyss, the full rustling of all the jimmies. This is where we find out that while parts of what Kitase said in that quote were true in terms of following the events, things, however, all take a mad turn in the rift of boundless, terrifying freedom. Najima and Kitase commit. They commit to a ludicrously new, bold direction despite the silent screams of Nomura. Of all people, pleading with them to keep it reined in. But they don't. The horse gets loose of the stable, Big survives to meet Jessie alive playing the Princess the Gold Saucer, and then the two of them team up with Kunsel, who was actually Greg in disguise.
Seriously?
I'm sorry, but it's outside our jurisdiction.
Show some spine!
Yes, sir! Ma'am!
To fight off Genesis, who appears forcing Minerva to replace her fallen agent with Wedge. I'm being a jokey lad here, but if I consider for a moment my skepticism, it definitely exists that Square are actually going to be able to get every location in the original game done to the newly set and scale and standard of part 1, with also presumably a map traversal of some kind. I could really see a combination of circumstances and Square Enix's directors really leaning so hard into their desire to create something new that they find themselves whisked away in a torrent of unforeseeable development choices and narrative choices that end up making the story in the FF7 remake very different to OG FF7, and just feels very different. I don't out and out oppose this possibility, especially when the illusions made in part 1 have definitely teed up completely new and as well as universe pulled material. But the question really comes down to, are Square as good as they used to be? That's the only way option 3 works, or even more intimately to specifically FF7, are Nomura, Kitase, Najima, and all the other old era legends who are working on the same game they created, are they better? And that's a key question, because as much as some fans like to pretend otherwise, I have confidence that these guys specifically, they have more knowledge, passion, capability, and indeed love for the FF saga than anyone. That whether they partly or completely cross the line of narrative change in the remake, regardless, it will be done in a way befitting the respect a beloved series deserves, something as beloved as FF7, though I suppose Star Wars exists to prove that could be a fool's hope. Either way, those are the three very broad degrees to which I could see the remake changing going forward. And I don't have any words of comfort. I certainly don't have any words of certainty. No, other than, this FF7 remake, it may bring joy, or it may bring fear. But you know what I uniquely think? I think let us embrace whatever it brings, for they, after all, are coming back. Just maybe slightly or radically changed beyond recognition. In all realsies though, I do subscribe to the notion that it doesn't matter either way, or at least it shouldn't, in terms of where the remake goes from here, because just like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, his goal as an educator is to teach people in a way so that they fall in love with the subject of learning, rather than specifically what he taught them. So in a way that surpasses his influence and makes him irrelevant.
People learn from me in a way that they are empowered by what I taught them. So that when they think of what they learned from me, they no longer think of me. They think of their own base of understanding of how this world works. And so that I become irrelevant. Because if people say, this is true because Tyson said so, then I failed. That's not how you teach someone. That's teaching them by authority. I want to teach you how to think about the world, and then you say, I have a new way to understand the world, and you just run off. You don't even look back.
I feel that FF7 has become the same for people, because of people's headcanons, the amount of extra universe stuff that people have either accepted or rejected or integrated, the endless number of fan fictions that exist, or even factors like the age we played FF7, or the highly play interpretive memories we each formed of the game. All of this stuff and the legacy of FF7 exceeds what even Squaresoft created in '97, and by that logic, certainly whatever they do in this remake, your beloved version of the original FF7 story will always exist. And even trippy to think exist uniquely to you. No one else has the same interpretation, takeaway, and appeal that you have to the game. And that's the beauty of these creative art forms. They've become timeless, they've become individualized. So I'm welcoming of whatever lays ahead. I always knew from day one when I was asking for a remake, this was going to be the kind of difficulty and challenge that was always going to be faced on which direction to take it. It was never going to be the same, especially when you think that games development has shifted so drastically. From back then pulling together entire scenes in a text-based, descaled format that by Squaresoft's own admission, sometimes it could take them only a few days at a time to do entire segments of the story. To now this day and age where these painstakingly, intricately animated and voiced scenarios that takes months and months of time and hundreds of staff, remaking this title was always going to be putting a fine-tooth comb of change over a product that needed a reimagined translation. And now with the surprisingly reimagined direction that End of Part 1 has set up, I can see quite a bit wanting to be changed ahead by Square, and arguably now even needing to be changed. As much as I love it, I also want to acknowledge that Part 1 has somewhat put our characters and our narrative beyond a point of no return. Whether there will be a fabulous payoff or not, I've got no damn idea, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'd also love to hear some areas where you guys think the story could or should change. So I've given a few examples like Bugenhagen's laboratory explaining destiny. I've also theorized on other ones like when the weapons appear to tie Minerva in somehow, and the current concept of what the Lifestream's will is. Definitely when Vincent shows up, should Proto-Materia be getting way more importance than it did in OG. And I mean, dang, I've already been hearing some other crazy ass ones from people like Square will reimagine the Cetra city so that we do save Aerith, like we push her away before Sephiroth can stab her, and then we fight Sephiroth. And after the fight has ensued, we stab him just for him to suddenly turn into Aerith, revealing that poor Claude did indeed kill the flower girl, which would be so goddamn brutal for Sephiroth to pull that, and it's not even impossible. He did after all disguise himself as Tifa, and would thoroughly tie in with this remake Sephiroth constantly affirming he wants Cloud to grow through suffering. Nothing would make poor Cloud suffer more than that, but again, even a change like that, would that be too dramatic? Overly angsty reimagining that takes somewhat away from the simplicity of the way the OG story presented it. I don't know, it's all subjective as hell. Peace, take it easy, and until the next video, Coco!